Right. So AngularJS is powerful JavaScript library. It's an open source, completely free, and helps us to develop rich internet applications. And AngularJS is client-side MVC architecture. Application written in AngularJS is class browser compliant. That's one of the Java problems what JavaScript developers had it. Now the problem is it all works fine in independent different platforms. But if I take the code from Chrome to Firefox or Firefox to Internet Explorer, there's a problem. It doesn't render enough. So these people they handle it by themselves. So there are cross browser compliant problems are resolved. AngularJS automatically handles JavaScript code suitable for each browser. AngularJS is a framework to build large-scale and high-performance applications. Okay, not for the low scale and so on. So a couple of features what we have here. You have data binding, helps to synchronize between the model and view. So model is here, actual scope, and you have the view. That's where your data binding comes. So scope is one variable which we have, which acts like a glue between actual model and the view. You have somebody called as controllers. The controller here is a typical JavaScript function. There's nothing special about it. It's just a JavaScript function. Okay, that are bound to particular scope. Services AngularJS comes with the several services, couple of services which is called as $HTTP. So $HTTP service, we basically use it for invoking AJAX. You want to make an AJAX call, you say $HTTP dot. So it makes a AJAX call. Then they internally use something called as XML HTTP request. So what we used to do it in AJAX is XML HTTP request, XHR is equal to new XML HTTP request. Then I used to have XHR dot check the browser is this, and so on, right? So it's all taken care by $HTTP. Okay. Now this $HTTP acts little funny in different scenarios. They are synchronous, they are asynchronous. Now how it is, we're gonna check. Okay, when we see that program. So they also have little more thing, which is something called as filter. Now filter is not like data filtration, we have it. Now maybe if I just have to show that what I mean by filters, I would let me open this browser and say perfect. So it's okay. So here I have. I just go to documentation of AngularJS. They've done some decent, good documentation, which they have it. So here I look at filters. Okay. Now filter here meaning is not like data getting filtered. That's not the actual meaning. I say I have a text. I want that to be converted to uppercase. Okay, that's a filter. It's a function. So all our filters will have a pipe. For example, I write something like 12, but I want that to be shown to the end user as $12. Okay, so that's where you have it. You just write 12 and $. And did you notice that there are two curly braces? All of our jobs in AngularJS when it comes to views, they go within two curly braces. And if you are using your own JavaScript, and if you are using AngularJS, your code should not have two curly braces. Because they assume that, okay, now you could use something like this, assuming somewhere in the function you will use it, but you should not use anything like two curly braces. Now, AngularJS will only recognize those things. Okay? So, again, you can go ahead with the expression and filter. We can try creating our own, filters and so on. So, if you want some formatting to be done, number of 2, which looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 dot 0, 0 and so on. Or maybe you want something like from different countries. So, I say rupees. If you don't have it, So I want something like, okay, I try writing 1, 2, 3, 4. I want that to be shown in rupees. Okay. Now there's nothing like number. I can write something like INR, which I have to create. I have to create my own filter and tell this, saying that okay, I'll have a filter. So that's where your filters come in AngularJS. Okay, and it's a very decent documentation they have got. There's a attached example as well, and so on. They internally again, since it's a JavaScript here, they use DOM. Okay, we have something called as directive. Now, any AngularJS which is being used, it takes really long time for loading. Okay, once it loads, it becomes faster. Now, let's assume that I'm trying to build a website which has around 50 pages. Okay, now what AngularJS does is all 50 pages are loaded to the client. That's a good and bad thing about Angular. Okay. Now, if you are trying to navigate from one page to other page, AngularJS literally does not go to the server and check the page. It finds it right there because the page is down. Now, one of the real usage of AngularJS, I don't see most of the websites being done on the AngularJS and so on. Most of our apps are done on the AngularJS. Okay. JavaScript is a scripting language. On top of that, jQuery is there. Using jQuery, these people have written AngularJS. On top of this, there is another person. Now, one happened to be somebody called as Anson UI. Okay, what Anson UI does is, it is just directives which are derived out of AngularJS. I would even show certain Anson UI codes just out of interest. I would show that how easy it is to develop this mobile apps and so on. Anson UI. That's again a library which is built on AngularJS. So they're used for hybrid mobile development apps and so on. Maybe some app like Swirkit, so they all run on this. There should be something like getting started. I click on this. So they got some code here which is called as develop everything interactive. Okay, let me just close it. So okay, you want something like carousel. Okay, you see here it's so you want a carousel on your mobile. Okay, the only thing what you got to do is you have to have an Anson UI library, right? This much. Literally this much. You just say carousel width is 100%, width height is so and so. How many carousels you want? You just have to say this, and this data has been populated. And good thing here, they are immaterial of the mobile operating system you're using. Using Apple, Android, Windows, they all suit fine. They're like hybrid applications. Now, hybrid applications have their own problem. They don't support every feature. Maybe I'm trying to access the something like camera. No, they don't help it. Okay. I don't know if they have. Yeah, here I have. You have an example. Look at this. So there is a carousel here. Swipe left. I don't know. Yeah, here I go. So for getting this, how much code you have written is only this much, and you would see the live code as well. There's a JavaScript code, Anson Bootstrap, there's a CSS, there's a HTML. It's all done. Look at this. These guys have written only this much. So there is a Anson page, there's a toolbar, and in the div they call it as carousel. The carousel is swipeable, scrollable, auto scrollable, full screen. The variable name is carousel, and done. Now this is where people are trying to use AngularJS. The real AngularJS uses this, not to develop like web pages. Okay. A lot of people try using this. That's some live examples. I don't know if I could show that. Anyways, yes, should that be okay? So all our directives which you try having will have something like this. Perfect. Now they also have something like templates. Now what are my templates? You write a template in HTML. Okay. If we remember that MVC, MVP, MEVM. Okay. What was it? VM. I just have to get the different presenter. The different presenter happened to be a different HTML. You write that in a form of a template. Right? And finally you have a routing from one to another. Okay? So that's where the AngularJS basically. So AngularJS provides capabilities to create SPA application in very clean and maintainable way. AngularJS provides data binding capability with HTML, thus giving user rich and responsive, experience. That's more important. So they can easily embed with this bootstrap, the responsive way, non-things over. AngularJS code is unit testable. There are few tools like Jasmine, like we have JUnit, they have Jasmine, they have Karma, and so on. AngularJS uses dependency injection. Again, the same old story of Spring. They use the concept of dependency injection. I'll show you some code how this dependency injection is also. Okay. AngularJS provides reusable components. So that's one of the reasons still AngularJS is in use. Okay. Now with AngularJS, developer write less code and get more functionality. In AngularJS, views are pure HTML and controllers are JavaScript for process. That's ultimate. Now, couple of things which we've been knowing it. So disadvantage of AngularJS, they are not too secure because things are happening on the client side. That's a problem what people have it to. Okay. Then it's not degradable. So you try writing something on 1.3, they don't work on 1.2, they don't work on 1.1. Now sometimes a lot of my programs they are not upgradable also. That's a problem with this tool. They're like little stringent, and company like Oracle or Google, they're like very stringent. They want that. They want. You try taking Angular 2x, most of the program don't work on 1x. Okay, you have written in 1x, they don't work on 2x. That's a concern. So a couple of words which we have to know it, few components of our AngularJS. We call it as ng. Now again, when we try doing Google and check why they have called this as ng. When you say ng, it looks like Angular. It seems. I don't know how much true it is. When you say ng, it looks like Angular. Okay, like ng app, ng model, ng byte. I believe that these words should be clear now. So you have ng app. So it means you will have only one ng app for one context. You will have one model and there is a binder. And we have to call this as ng app, ng model, ng binder. So that's where we have most of our discussion on. Now, AngularJS comes with a lot of components when we try taking it. They have lot many things. Not only the core. They give you that AngularJS full-fledged, and you also get jQuery. Here it's not like jQuery. What they have done is they have created a minified version of jQuery. They call it as JQ. Okay, Java Query Lite. And of course, you have all these things. You have data binding, MVCs, routing, testing. Testing it, they don't commit, but they support it. Right? You have Jasmine. Most of the AngularJS code which you see it on their official website, test with the Jasmine. Factories are there, we see that. Histories are there, template, dependency injection, of course, we see all these things. Okay. And then you have this traditional loading mechanism. That's what evolving. This is where we are now. So these three diagrams is what we started.
Okay. When we talk about Angular grid, is that same?
Yes, yes. This is our grid. This is our grid. None of these people support session. They don't know what is session now. So when we say session, I will just give a little backward how people came. we have HTML 4x versions which were running it. So we had something called as cookies. The cookies they're like plain textual data which was kept. But now since HTML5 has come, the cookie size has gone up to 5 MB. Every browser when we have, the cookie size is 5 MB. Those days it was like, I mean, not even 500 bytes we had it, or maybe 1000 bytes, like 1000 characters. Keep it. Now 5 MB, which we can have. So whatever we want something, the server will send us some code, right? Some long digit number. I have to save it, and I have to do the to and fro every. That's how it happens. So that thing is called as session here.
If I were to like build an application where I want to do an application, then probably take into a dashboard or a dashboard.
Yes. We go with like MD5 algorithm.
Would that would AngularJS be a good candidate?
Yeah.
You can still
We can still do it.
It's not like
So that's where we have it, and we got some separation of concerns. We looked at this. JavaScript, no, AngularJS supports model view, anything. Or when I say anything, any framework can be supported here. And a complete client-side solution. AngularJS is what HTML would have to be designed for the applications. Now, there's another requirement. Let me just check. I have a spa here. Maybe my spa looks something like this, right? I change some value here. Depending on it, I want some values to be changed. Okay. So now let's assume that I'm a controller, or let's consider I'm a module, and I have another module called Rohit, right? We are actually isolated in the world. So when I want something, I'm gonna talk to Rakesh, assuming he is a server. I'll make a request. I'll make a HTTP request saying that, hey Rakesh, I need this. What Rakesh to do is to start something and do it. Now when Rohit needs something, he will talk to a server. He'll talk to Tim and say that, hey team, I want this. Now he's gonna render it. But a lot of values which he has, no, you don't. Okay. A lot of values what Rohit has is dependent on me. Okay, so this filtration are getting the value and so on. Now, is that possible? Yes, AngularJS provides one of the wonderful features which is called as data binding. So this is how we used to have a look at the way the applications were built so far till today. Okay, look at it. Now you have a request which is coming out. The model is there. The template is which the look and feel. The look and feel is the template. The model is the data. You club this, you merge it in one time, and your view is formed. Okay. You want one more request? You make a request. Again template. Again model, and start pushing it. Okay. But this is what basically happens. I say that ng app. Okay. Let us. This is a pure JavaScript. I'm sorry, AngularJS code. Let me just try explaining it. Couple of things which are mandatorily required for any AngularJS code to be written is this line. If you miss this, that's not AngularJS. Now, if you say that, can I write this at the head or at the at HTML or at the body? Anywhere you can write. You're not going to stop. But this app should be there. There could be two types of ng apps: named or anonymous. So as you can see this is the anonymous tag. Okay, it's just there. Now it says, now there's a special file here which is called as AngularJS, which you gotta download it sometime. Okay, or we can refer to some CDN client. Now, the moment this page is there, it will say, hey, look at this. Does this page have ng app? Yes. Only then I'll do the job. If not, no. Okay. Now, I would say ng init. As the name says, it's init. I am initializing the first name, the John, the last name to Doe. So I have somebody called as John Doe who is initialized. When is he initialized? Before anything could happen, the application startup. Okay, I want to use that name. What I do is I'll still go with this, curly braces. So what do you want? You want first name? Okay, the first name, the initialization would have happened. Now this is stored in the glue code. Now the glue code is stored in a variable. There's a bucket here. The bucket name is called as a scope. Now in the scope, first name is there, last name is there, anything. We can even try putting the array here. I can get this value from the server. That's absolutely left over. Okay, so I'll get this data and show. Okay, is this the only way? No, you can even do something called as ng-bind first name. Ng-bind. So a lot of people use this. This is again called as the expression way. Okay, if you want to use this, you can do it, or you can use the expression. Now, what is happening? You give a value. Okay, something called as John Doe. The John Doe value is shown here. Perfect, no problem. But now imagine that this value comes in a input type text box. I make a change. As and now I make a change, other text box value should also be changed. That's something called as two-way data binding. So what happens in two-way data binding is, okay, now a quick look at the previous one. You have a template and model that creates a view. You have a view creating a model. That's the first thing. Now it's like the data is been populated from view. That's amazing. Now we always thought that the server will give the data. Can the view give the data? Yes, possible. Now I take few things granted here because AngularJS, the way it is designed is you have to load everything to be on your client. That's an advantage. That's a disadvantage. Your page start running really slow for the first. Now for this, people have come out with something like lazy loading and all. So a couple of examples is your Facebook or Twitter and all. As you are seeing the page, only that part of page is loaded and 10% of that is loaded. When you scroll down, only then the rest part is loaded. So AngularJS is just like a JavaScript. They do that whichever loading is required. They give you that popping up. Okay. Now how this popping up is happening? You are telling, oh look at this. I am looking this. Since I am looking this, create a model for this. Okay, I'm trying to look at the Facebook page where I have around 100 pages, right? I look at the first page. Okay, the first page is shown. Perfect. Now I'll scroll down. The view instructs model saying that, okay, I have scrolled down. Good. You have scrolled down. What should be the model? Should it be the same one? It should be the new one. Take that model. Find that. And every view which you have is template. Okay, you have a template which is like a view which you try giving it the look and feel. And one important thing these days when you try building it, you always try talking about JavaScript. Look at this, the word script has come. Now, really long time back, whenever we talk about Spring script, they use something called as interpreters. Line by line executor. They don't have the concept of compiler. But these people have got something called as compiler now. Okay, you can have a JavaScript code, compile it, and then give it for the development. Okay, so it creates a intermediate code, and the things become faster. Plus, they have two versions here. One is a development mode, one is a minified mode. We can even minify. There are a lot of tools in the market which that all the code which you have got can be squeezed and given. Okay, so that's where you have it. Right? So you have a data to be changed based on the view. That's something amazing. We have never thought about it. That's possible. Now, one simple example for this. Now, I say that I've got a name and the last name, the first name, last name, yes, it is got. Now, I also have ng model as first name. I can change this. As and now I change, the values here will also get affected. The view is changing the value. Okay? It's getting it. So look at it. I have the name which is in it, perfectly fine. I try using it, no problem. I can use input type is equal to text for that ng model called as first name. I keep changing the value, it just works out. So we thought that okay, the scope is the one who will give the value to the view. Now think the view is giving value to the scope. This scope can be used for somebody else. That's a different story. Okay? You don't give me the value, I'll give you the value. Because you know that scope is right in your client. And a typical Angular program will look like this. Okay?
We can slide. So when we say the first name, is that the name of that entry box?
Yes, yes, exactly. Input type is text. Okay. So you can have root application. You'll have few modules to be developed, and they can also have some configuration. They can have underlying routers. The routers will have no everybody out there will have some common object to be shared, which is called as a dollar scope, which acts between these two people. You have somebody called as factories or services and so on, which controller uses it. What is this factories and service? They are just a JavaScript function which get executed before something. It's like this. You have init, we call it as fact. Okay. So you have view. The view is different views. We generally route it from one view to other view with the help of directives. Okay. And all other modules. Now, what is this module? This, if you look at this module, they're like dependency injection. One module happened to be something like globalization. Okay, that's a module for me. My core AngularJS does not have this module. I can go and take it. I can even show that if you know before right here. AngularJS. I don't know where is that code. Code.angularjs.com. Let me just check. It is AngularJS download. I believe that or maybe here. Just give me a minute. Let me just check. Develop. Yeah, here I have. So it's like this is what. Oh, I'm sorry. I would have used HTTP. Yes, I had used HTTP 1.2.0, some code, anything. Now look at this. By default, you will have AngularJS. Okay, and if you are looking for something like globalization, I should find something like I18N. Yes, here you have. So this is your code for I18N. Whichever language you want, you have it here. Okay, so most of the languages are there, which we generally use it in day-to-day, right? From Arabic, Turkish, Hindi, English, and so on, right? So I could use this code. So maybe something like I want I don't know which language. If I want something like Omani, I can use this. So which can help me to substitute from one to another and so on. Okay. So anyways, our job as of now is not that to get started with this. We will get started with this where we have AngularJS code and so on. You see here I was trying to talk about two versions. You have AngularJS. When I click on AngularJS, it gives you a full detail with the documentation. This is what actual AngularJS people have written it. And for the deployment, we are not going to use this. We will use this version, which is called as a min. I click on this. It's the same code, but look at this. It's a minified version, and the space which this takes is less. Because when we try running on the application, it does the same. It's the same code. It's a minified version. So there are a lot of tools when we try writing a JavaScript code. We can say JavaScript to minified JavaScript, so that just compresses and gives you. Okay. It's a minified. It's see something like this. Yes. There's nothing special about it. It only removes that extra spaces and so on. It's like this. If I try having this, and I've got a lot of spaces in between. So when it's a minified, the spaces are all taken it off. That's where we have it. So AngularJS again, just before we could, I was using Python. So since we don't have Python here, just check if we could download a software here called as Mongoose server download. It's a server, or you can use like Tomcat and all. You know, I'm sure that you don't want to look at that Eclipse once again, right? Or I can even put it on the drive just in a minute. 1 second, if I could just get that. Just give me a second. What I do is I'll go to drive. You can go to the drive. I'll give you that software. Mongoose. Uh, give me a minute. Let's just check if we are getting it. Maybe. Yeah, you should have it. It's very small. It's only 26 KB. Maybe on your drive you should have mongoose.zip. You can just web server. The static server. No, not on the file path. It runs on HTTP protocol, not on the file protocol. The libraries run. Your jQuery, Backbone, they all run, but not AngularJS. That's okay. That's okay, no? You can't download or it just gives a warning. Yeah, you can download it. I was just. It's a very small file. Where is that? Mongoose. This will get started. Okay. So, in my case, right, I'll put all my files in this location called D drive Angular works. We can put in the same place where you have it. Right. I use like the editor, like Notepad plus plus. I believe that should be there in our case. Couple of things which we got to do it together. I'll just close all these things. A lot of things. Anyway, I would just close all those things. Click on play. I'll close all those things. So you could go to this, open a tab, https:// code.angularjs.org. So that's where the codes are all kept. it is code.https colon code dot. You have various variants. So I would use 1.2.20. That's something which anything after this will work up to 1.9. So I would prefer to take 1.2.20. That's where I go. Okay. So I would click there, and you get a lot of options now. Now you find this animate cookies, loaders. I was trying to talk on this loader. If the partial page loads and so on. Okay. Now here you could choose any one of it. That's your choice. Either you can go with AngularJS or either go with the minified version. So if some error happens, if you want to see the documentation, go with Angular.js. If you don't want any documentation, you could go with min. But I need some documentation. I would select Angular.js. Okay, so I click on this. Now we could do one of the two things. I can say Control A here, save this as a file, so that it is always there for you offline. Or since we are always connected to internet here, I would use this link directly. Anything is okay. So either you can save that on your local system or refer it with something like this. Okay, is that okay? Getting it? So I would right click, copy. I'll go to notepad. So this is where I start my things and so on. Let me just close things which are open. Yeah, so here I have, oh, that should be visible. Yeah, or maybe this font is good enough to go. Okay, so I'll try saving this file. So the file goes inside uh, D drive. I will find Angular works right here. I've just copied the URL. I'll create the file and we're gonna paste this now. So I would select the file as .html. I should find HTML here, and this is like, I will call it as app1.html. Perfect. I'd say the file name as app1.html. You could give any name. Okay. So I would have HTML/HTML. I'll have two tags. One is head and body. So basically our script tags are all residing in the head tag. I would say script, I could say directly src is equal to the one which I've just copied it. I say script src is equal to https code.angularjs.com.org 1.2.20 slash angularjs.js. And that's my script tag. I'll have a div tag. The first thing I got to say is ng app. Now ng app, you could leave it here or leave it here. So it's an empty tag, both meaning the same. We can write it on HTML perfectly, or here, or on the body. Okay, so as of now I would write it in ng app. I would say data. You could even write data hyphen ng hyphen app. So even ng app will do the same thing. Ng data hyphen ng hyphen init. So I want to initialize some name. I would say first name is equal to John and put a semicolon. Last name is equal to Doe. So John Doe. I'll put it this way. Data hyphen ng hyphen init. We just got to be a little cautious about the single quotes and double quotes, the mixing and matching. Let's show it with the expression way. Expression way. I would say first name, last name. So that's what the expression way. Okay. I would just put a HR tag, span way. I would just say span ng bind first name slash span. Okay, is getting it? Perfect. Let me just try saving it and go back to the browser and refresh. I should find that app1.html. I click on that. Okay, so expression way it says John Doe and span way it says John. Yeah, same place, because that refers to that folder only, the one which we have Mongoose. We just go once, just refresh Mongoose. Yeah, there's the Mongoose. I believe Mongoose is checked Angular. There. What is it? The file.